gambling. But the fact of the matter is, they know this is a ripoff. It really is. And to put this stuff in the Constitution is just absurd, as they have done again. And as I say, they copied the same thing that we had back in 2006. I can't believe it. You said, will anybody ever learn? The last thing we need during these hard economic times is a casino in our backyard to make things even worse. Majority of Ohioans don't visit casinos. They don't spend their money out of state on a casino. And folks, they don't want gambling in Ohio. 4 times around, 62-38. The closest they came was back in 06 at 57-43. They've made it very clear. This state's made it very clear we don't want casino gambling or slot machines. So they understand the House always wins. And that's why casinos rake in the money and spend so much on elections trying to fool people into legalizing. I was on to David. We think they've spent since 1990 over $100 million to bring casinos to our state. There's got to be a tremendous amount of money. Now let's get back to Ohio's families. The social costs. New casinos will create new gambling addicts. I had an uncle who was a gambling addict. And if somebody wants to ask me about him after this press conference, I'll be more than happy to share the story of Uncle Paul. A recent survey conducted regarding the city of Detroit, 80 to 90% of a casino patrons came from the immediate surrounding counties. Okay? Think about it. In Detroit, with their over 20% unemployment, they're not faring too well because they've got casinos in the city of Detroit. And if you ask some of the ministers who got conned into supporting it today, who really feel bad that they did, it's been devastating to the least of our brothers and sisters, and the ones they're the ones that are being preyed upon. According to another study, 10 to 15 persons are directly or adversely affected by pathological gamblers, and the number of abusive gamblers doubles when casinos are within 50 miles of their home. A casino within 10 miles of a home is associated with a 90% increase in the odds of being a pathological or problem gambler. Gambling, again, preys on the most vulnerable, the poor and the working class, broken families, higher welfare costs, bankruptcy, suicides, and crime. Hello, Cleveland. Hello, Columbus. Hello, Cincinnati. Hello, Toledo. Think about it. Just walk down. Preys on human weaknesses to line the pockets of gambling promoters. Meanwhile, the increased crime, bankruptcies, and devastated families take a toll on everyone, even those who avoid slot machines. In my opinion, this is the worst kind of greed that plays to the hopes and fears and preys on the poor and our working class people. Since I was mayor of Cleveland, I've had 2 mottos: together we can do it, and with God all things are possible. And you know, David, sometimes, they're saying to me, when are you going to quit, George? I mean, I'll never forget it. In 2006, I told the people supporting this that I was going to go out and work my butt off to make sure that we were going to beat him. I said, don't do this. When I was governor of Ohio, and they talked about bringing gambling to Ohio, when I visited the gamblers, and by the way, they supported the National Governors Association and the Republican. I just told them, don't come to Ohio. I'm going to do everything I can to defeat you, so don't do it. And I get tired like all of you do, but I have a famous passage from Isaiah. Those who hope in the Lord shall have their strength renewed. They shall soar as with wings of eagle. They will run and not grow weary, and they will walk and not grow faint. And I'm hoping that the Holy Spirit enlightens the people of Ohio as they have in the past, and they reject issue 3.
Thank you, Senator. There are names and contact information in your press kits. There are facts on the lawsuit that's been filed, facts on the previous attempts to amend the Constitution that the Senator has referenced. People around the room who obviously have been involved in those prior campaigns with us are also available to talk with you. As you call our offices, I encourage you to talk to Rob Walgate and to Melanie Elsey. Melanie is our National Legislative Director. If any of you have not met Melanie, she's standing on the back wall there. She may know more than all the rest of us combined on this issue. And she is available, as is Rob, for information that you're interested in knowing more about. And I believe now everyone would have access to the actual suit that's filed. My job now is to try to handle some of your questions or direct them to the people who can. So let me start off with Jim.
Dave, I'm assuming that you saw the comments from Paul Pfeiffer on the court yesterday, that he thinks that there's nothing prohibiting the legislature from doing this now, and that this language that was put in the budget wasn't even necessary. Do you have any concerns that you've already lost one vote on the court even before you file a case?
No, I don't. No, I think that the processes that have been followed here are clearly incorrect. If the legislature has the authority to do it, then the legislature can do it. But they didn't. The governor issued an order, and the legislature folded like a cheap chair in the funeral parlor to facilitate the order. All right. Furthermore, what the legislature can do as it relates to the lottery specifically, let's remember that the lottery is a carve-out made by the people of Ohio in their vote in 1973. If the legislature wants to amend the lottery, then it should have the decency, according to constitutional provision, to pass a constitutional amendment and then submit it to the voters and let them change the lottery that they created, as opposed to doing it by executive order in direct defiance to two constitutional provisions the people passed and 4 specific votes. So let's remember that the authority of the Constitution is a matter of covenantal law, resides in the people. That's what the Constitution says about itself. When the people create a carve-out and then defend it over 4 consecutive elections, what kind of governor, by executive fiat, overthrows that? There's over 10 million votes that have been cast. So the question of, can this be done, isn't the question. The question is, how should it be done? The bigger question here is the appropriate function of the rule of law. Now, why does that concern us so dramatically? If they can do this, what else can they do? And that's always the thing you have to be concerned about. When the law is abrogated, where are they going next? So the answer is, it's a matter of process. We believe, and our suit will prove, that they have in fact broken the process, broken precedent, and I'm quite confident that the court, seeing the concerns of our case, will agree.
Can you expand a little bit on your argument about that the lottery, if it is part of the lottery, well, all the lottery money is going to go to schools, the revenues?
Yes, gross proceeds, if you will. Did I say that right, Karen?
Entire net.
Entire net proceeds. Thank you. The gross has to do with issue 3. Net has to do with the lawsuit. Something I'm right on that one. Bill, it's getting more complicated as the years go on. Yes, the question is, you know that in 1973 we carved out the Ohio lottery, and one of the major points we'll be making in the case is that what did the voters mean when they did that? All right, that'll be before the court. The next is that we know from practical experience that the question became, is the lottery supposed to be icing on the cake, or is it supposed to be fungible money? And after watching that experience for a number of years, the people of Ohio moved forward and locked the door, if you will, in 1987, saying that the proceeds of the lottery have to go to the education fund. So a special provision was made. And some of you will remember that once before, when this was attempted, in the Mega Millions suit, an attempt was made to remove those funds out of the education fund. We sued and were successful. Now we're suing on this concept, Bill, that it's very difficult for us to understand how in 1973 or in 1987 that the voters intended for racetracks to get 50% of the lottery. That wasn't in the 73 provision. It's not certainly in the intention of the 87 language. So where in the world did we come up with, oh, and in addition 50% for the racetracks? It's just hanging there. Furthermore, we have no factual evidence since this measure was not brought forth from legislative process, I might remind the justice. This was done in conference committee. We have no record in the legislative process that the General Assembly wanted it to go to 50%. Where did this come from? It's hanging in midair. So we think it violates the actual intention of the Constitution. It's way outside the language of the Constitution. We don't know how 50%, I mean, if it's 50% for the racetracks, maybe we should give 50%, 49% to somebody else. So it's a matter of precedent. Where did they come up with it? We want the court to rule the fact that they didn't have precedent for it.